All right, get ready to dive deep today because we're going to be talking all about the microbiome.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some really cool excerpts from an article,
Okay.
and I think it's going to totally change how you think about all those teeny tiny creatures that live inside all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it really flips that whole idea we have of ourselves as individuals on its head.
Yeah,
It turns out we're more like walking ecosystems, you know? We're totally covered in these microbes.
right.
And they aren't just along for the ride.
Uh-huh.
They actually have a huge impact on our health and behavior.
Yeah, that's a wild thought, right?
It is.
I mean, I always knew we had bacteria living in us, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I never really thought about it as like an entire ecosystem.
It is. It's a super complex one. Just think about this. We're actually totally sterile in the womb.
Okay.
We only get exposed to microbes for the first time when we're born, like passing through the birth canal.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that first exposure is kind of like setting the stage for our microbiome.
Exactly.
Really?
And it's like essential
Yeah.
for developing a healthy microbiome. Like
Wow.
studies have actually shown that babies that are born via C-section, they miss out on that initial exposure.
Right.
So they end up with different microbiomes.
And how does that difference affect them?
Well, research is showing that it could mean they have a higher risk for certain health problems like asthma or allergies, even some autoimmune diseases.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
So like what happens after birth then?
Uh-huh.
How does our microbiome continue to like develop?
And that's where mother's milk is so important. It's not just about nutrition.
Right.
It actually contains these specific sugars
Okay.
called oligosaccharides.
Okay.
And they nourish these, really beneficial bacteria in the baby's gut.
So it's like this targeted feeding program for all the good microbes.
Precisely.
Okay,
It
yeah.
gives them a head start.
Yeah.
Really helps to shape the composition of the microbiome
Oh.
during those first few years.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So how long does it take for like this whole ecosystem to fully mature?
It takes about 2 years for a healthy, diverse microbiome to really establish itself.
Wow.
During those 2 years, we're exposed to all sorts of microbes.
Right.
Some of them become like permanent residents. Others are just kind of passing through.
So it's like a constant influx of all these new microbes.
Yeah.
And our bodies are figuring out which ones to keep and
Right.
which ones to like let go.
You could say that. And within that mix, there are different types of microbes that are playing different roles.
The article mentioned 3 main categories. Yeah. Right? Like what were they again?
Okay, so think of them as the quiet passengers,
Okay.
the harmful guests,
Uh-huh.
and the friendly fellows.
Okay, I like that.
So the quiet passengers, they're generally harmless, right?
Okay.
They're just taking up space. And what they do is they prevent these like more aggressive microbes from taking over.
Oh, so they're important for maintaining that balance.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, the harmful guests, those are the ones we've learned to live with,
Right.
but they can cause problems if their populations get out of control.
Gotcha.
Think about those bacteria in our mouths.
Yeah.
They're producing acid.
Yeah.
That helps break down food, but it can also erode our teeth if we don't keep them in check.
Oh, that makes me want to go brush my teeth right now.
I know, right?
So those are the harmful guests and then the friendly fellows. Tell me about those.
Yes, these are like the beneficial bacteria, and they're mostly found in the gut.
Uh-huh.
These are the ones we really want to cultivate.
Yeah.
They help us digest food, break down those complex carbohydrates,
Yeah.
extract calories that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
So we actually need these bacteria to get all the good stuff from our food.
We do.
Wow.
And their benefits go way beyond just digestion.
Okay.
They play a huge role in training our immune system.
That's interesting. How does that work?
Well, our immune system, it needs to learn how to tell the difference between friend or foe.
Yeah.
And the beneficial bacteria in our gut actually teach it to recognize and tolerate the harmless stuff
Okay.
while still fighting off those pathogens.
So our gut bacteria are basically making our immune system smarter.
Exactly. And this is just one example
Uh-huh.
of the communication between our bodies and our microbiome.
Okay.
And it turns out this communication goes beyond the gut.
Where does it go?
It even extends to our brains.
Wait, you're saying there's a connection between our gut bacteria and our brains?
There is. It's this fascinating area of research called the gut-brain axis.
Okay.
And it's becoming increasingly clear that the gut microbiome has a huge role to play in our mental and emotional well-being.
Okay, now that is really interesting.
It is.
Tell me more about this like gut-brain connection.
Well, one of the key discoveries is that a large proportion of the body's serotonin is actually produced in the gut.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Not the brain.
Not the brain.
Serotonin, that's the neurotransmitter that's associated with like mood and happiness, right?
That's right.
Oh, wow.
And this suggests that our gut bacteria, because they influence the production of serotonin in the gut,
Uh-huh.
they could be directly impacting our mood and behavior.
That's incredible.
It is. And there's more.
Okay.
Research shows that some gut bacteria can actually stimulate these immune cells in the gut
Okay.
to send signals all the way to the brain.
Oh.
These signals may even help the brain recover after injury.
I never would have guessed that our gut bacteria could have such a powerful influence on our brains.
And it goes both ways.
Oh, what do you mean?
Our brains can also influence our gut bacteria.
Huh?
Like, stress and anxiety can actually change the composition of the gut microbiome.
Really?
It's a two-way communication system.
So it's not just about what we're eating.
Right.
It's also about how we feel and how we like deal with stress and all that.
Exactly. It's a holistic system.
Okay, I'm definitely starting to see how complex and important this whole microbiome thing is.
Yeah.
This article also mentioned something about our gut bacteria like influencing our food cravings,
Yes.
which I thought was so interesting.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
It seems like our gut bacteria actually have a say in what we eat. Research, especially on fruit flies,
Okay.
has shown that their microbiome can actually directly influence their food preferences.
Wow.
So it's possible that our gut bacteria are sending signals to our brains, kind of nudging us towards certain foods.
So we might think we're in control of our cravings, but it's really our gut bacteria pulling the strings. That's both fascinating and a little unsettling.
It is a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really makes you question those late night cravings.
Totally.
And this brings us to this concept of a fast food bacteria feedback loop.
Okay.
Essentially, if we eat a lot of processed food,
Uh-huh.
high in sugar and unhealthy fats,
Yeah.
we encourage the growth of bacteria that thrive on those types of food.
Okay, so far so good. But how does that turn into a feedback loop?
Okay, so as these bacteria grow, they flourish, right?
Yeah.
They can start sending signals to the brain.
Okay.
And that actually intensifies those cravings for even more processed foods.
Oh, no.
It becomes this vicious cycle that can be hard to break.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
So our diet and our microbiome are like in this constant dance,
Yeah,
each one influencing the other.
they are. Yeah.
It sounds like a delicate balance.
It is. And when that balance is disrupted,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you can see a lot of health issues cropping up, including obesity, type 2 diabetes,
Mhm.
even certain mental health conditions.
So what can we do to like tip the scales in favor of the good bacteria?
Diet is key.
Okay.
Eating a diverse range of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains is so important.
Okay.
These foods provide the fiber that our good gut bacteria need to thrive.
So it's all about feeding the right microbes.
Exactly. And fermented foods are great too, like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut.
Right.
They're great sources of probiotics.
Probiotics. Okay.
Yeah. Which are those live beneficial bacteria?
Probiotics. There's a lot of talk about probiotics these days. What's the
Right.
deal with them?
Well, they can be really helpful for replenishing and diversifying the gut microbiome.
Okay.
They can help improve digestion, boost immunity, and even positively impact mental health.
Wow.
It's important to choose high-quality probiotic supplements or foods that contain a variety of strains.
So not all probiotics are created equal.
Yeah, got it.
Gotcha.
Some strains are more effective for certain conditions,
Right.
and individual responses can vary.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember probiotics, they're not a quick fix.
Yeah.
They work best when they're part of an overall healthy lifestyle.
Right. That makes sense.
That includes a balanced diet, regular exercise, and stress management.
So it's about creating this sustainable environment
Exactly.
for those good bacteria to flourish,
Precisely.
not just a temporary boost.
Yes. And it's worth noting that the microbiome is dynamic. It's constantly changing and adapting to our environment and lifestyle choices.
Okay.
So maintaining a healthy microbiome,
Uh-huh.
it's an ongoing process.
That makes sense. It's not a one-time fix. It's about making consistent choices that support our gut health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every meal we eat,
Uh-huh.
every medication we take,
Yeah.
even the amount of sleep we get,
Wow.
it can all influence our microbiome.
That's a lot to consider.
It is.
It really highlights how interconnected our bodies are
Uh-huh.
and the impact our choices have on this incredible ecosystem within us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've been focusing a lot on the gut,
Right.
but it's important to remember that we have microbiomes all over our body, right? Like on our skin, in our mouths,
Yes,
even in our lungs.
that's right.
And each of these microbiomes plays a unique role in maintaining our health.
They do.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'd almost forgotten about all those other microbial communities.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is, yeah. So it's not just about gut health. It's about supporting the health of all of our microbiome.
Absolutely.
And all these different microbiomes can actually interact with each other
They can.
and affect our overall health in these really complex ways.
Exactly.
This is really making me appreciate the complexity of the human body.
It is amazing.
And to think, we're just beginning to understand all these intricate connections.
I know it's a young field,
Yeah.
microbiome research,
Uh-huh.
but it's advancing so rapidly.
Well, the article did mention fecal transplants, right?
Yeah,
Which sound a little extreme,
they do.
but also kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So they can be super effective for certain conditions.
Okay.
What it involves is transferring fecal matter from a healthy donor
Okay.
into the gut of someone with a severely disrupted microbiome.
Uh-huh.
It's basically like a reboot
Okay.
for the gut ecosystem.
So you're essentially transplanting a healthy microbiome
You got it.
into someone who has like a really messed up one. And while it sounds a little unconventional,
It does.
it's been shown to be really successful
Right. It has.
in treating those C. difficile infections.
Yes, those are really tough to get rid of.
Right, with like normal antibiotics.
Exactly.
So in those cases, it's kind of like a last resort, but it's highly effective.
Exactly.
Wow. But fecal transplants are just one way that we might be able to like manipulate the microbiome to improve health, right?
Right.
There are other ways too.
There is a lot of interest right now in developing targeted therapies
Uh-huh.
that can actually promote the growth of those beneficial bacteria.
That sounds like the future of medicine.
It does, doesn't it?
So instead of broad spectrum antibiotics,
Yeah.
we could have microbiome targeted therapies that are way more precise
Uh-huh.
and would have fewer side effects.
That's the goal. Researchers are also exploring the potential of using things like dietary interventions, prebiotics,
Love
and
that.
even engineered bacteria
Wow.
to modulate the microbiome and treat all kinds of conditions.
Sounds like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, it's a really exciting field.
It is, yeah.
You know, this deep dive is really making me appreciate the power of these tiny organisms and
Yeah.
the huge role they play in shaping our health.
It's almost like a paradigm shift
Uh-huh.
in how we think about health.
It is.
It's not just about us as individuals, it's about us as ecosystems,
Yes.
working in harmony with trillions of microbial partners.
Well said. It's humbling, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And it's empowering to know that we can make choices that actually support the health of our microbiome
Mhm.
and, in turn, our own health. It really is a whole new way of thinking about health and wellness.
It is, yeah. And it opens up so many possibilities for the future of medicine.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, imagine being able to personalize treatments based on someone's unique microbiome.
Exactly.
That would be incredible.
It would, wouldn't it? Like personalized medicine, but based on your gut bacteria.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called microbiome-based precision medicine. And it's a huge area of research right now.
So scientists are basically trying to figure out what microbes are associated with different diseases
Right?
and then develop treatments that target those specific microbes.
That's the idea.
Okay, so instead of this one-size-fits-all approach,
Mm-hmm.
we could have treatments that are designed for each person's individual microbiome.
Exactly.
Wow, that could totally change how we think about treating all kinds of conditions.
Yeah, I mean, think about chronic diseases, even mental health conditions.
Yeah, the article mentioned that researchers are looking into the role of the microbiome in things like Parkinson's disease and autism.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Is there any evidence to support those connections?
There's some really interesting preliminary evidence.
Of what?
For example, there are studies that have found that people with Parkinson's disease
Uh-huh.
often have gut problems years before they develop any neurological symptoms.
So those gut problems could be an early warning sign.
Potentially.
Wow.
It suggests that changes in the gut microbiome might actually come before the onset of the disease.
And what about autism?
With autism, there's more and more evidence showing that the gut microbiome might play a role
Okay.
in some of the behavioral and gastrointestinal symptoms.
It's amazing to think that these tiny organisms in our gut could be connected to such complex conditions.
I know, it's mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is.
And while we're still in the early stages of research, there is so much potential for understanding and treating these conditions through the microbiome.
It really feels like we're on the edge of a whole new era of medicine.
It does, yeah.
It makes you wonder what other secrets the microbiome holds.
I think the possibilities are truly endless, and it really highlights the importance of continuing to invest in microbiome research.
Yeah, totally.
The more we learn about this incredible ecosystem within us,
Mm-hmm.
the better we'll be able to use it to improve our health.
Well, this deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to the world of the microbiome. I'm for sure going to be paying more attention to my gut health from now on.
That's great to hear.
So what are some key takeaways our listeners can start implementing today?
I would say focus on feeding your gut bacteria good food.
Okay.
A diverse diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains.
Yeah.
And you can try incorporating fermented foods into your meals.
Okay, like what are some examples of fermented foods?
Yogurt and sauerkraut are great options.
Okay, cool.
And a lot of people asked about probiotic supplements.
Yeah, they're super popular these days.
They are. Are they worth trying?
They can be beneficial, but you got to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Choose high-quality probiotics with a diverse range of strains.
So you're saying not all probiotics are created equal?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And remember, they're not a magic bullet.
Yeah.
A healthy microbiome really requires a holistic approach.
Okay.
Balanced diet, regular exercise, managing stress, and even getting enough sleep.
So it's all about making choices that support the overall health of our microbial partners. Well said.
We're not just individuals, we're ecosystems.
Yes,
This has been a fascinating look into the world of the microbiome.
it has.
It's humbling and empowering to know that we have this incredible ecosystem within us,
It is.
influencing our health and well-being.
In so many ways.
It's really amazing.
It is.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
My pleasure.
It's been so insightful.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's always exciting to talk about the microbiome.
To our listeners, we hope you found this deep dive as fascinating as we did.
Yeah. Keep learning.
Keep exploring, and until next time, keep diving deep.
It really is.
Yeah. And it's empowering to know that we can make choices that support the health of our microbiome
Right.
and ultimately our own health.
Exactly. And as we learn more, I'm sure we'll discover even more ways to support a microbiome and improve our well-being.
Absolutely. Well, this deep dive has been amazing. It's been so eye-opening to learn about the incredible power of these tiny organisms.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It is. And to all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity about the amazing world within you.
Keep exploring.
And until next time, keep diving deep.